So there's this belief system in Christianity: God is good. And when we believe that, we believe that God is eudaimonia, which is like God is like a good demon. But like because you is good in Greek, and then daimonia is a demon, or daimon. But like when I'm looking up eudaimonia, my understanding is that like it can be translated into happiness or doing well, living well. This guy says it should be translated as well-being or flourishing, but in the Bible it's translated as good. And like in the Bible, it gets very confusing the way they're translating things. Apparently, they're translating righteousness or justice as righteousness, even though like justice is like one of the most important words in the Greek language. Like the Republic of Plato is about justice. I'm talking about dikaiosune. So at the top, it's like this is on Wikipedia's page. It says Socrates adopted a quite a radical form of eudaimonism. He seemed to have thought that virtue is both necessary and sufficient for eudaimonia. So virtue is arete, and we've talked about like the classical virtues versus like the Christian virtues. Like they add like humility to like the classical virtues, because in the classical virtues we have like justice, courage, prudence. I guess they added self-control. I guess temperance would be self-control. Yeah. So as we're reading the Bible and we're all confused about like why the Bible's words, like it will never translate with the rest of Greek. Like we've decided righteousness is justice. Trust me. When justice, like I have studied justice, it is not righteousness. We have to ask ourselves why. Okay, so the fruits of the Spirit, real quick, like what does it mean when it's a fruit of the Spirit? It's a result of the Spirit. So like you work hard to get the fruit at the end, right? And what's the end result of the Spirit? These are the fruits that Paul is saying that the church is going to get. So when he says that you're going to have like a deep family, like you're going to have a long line of your family line, and then they're saying, "Oh no, that's long suffering. Trust me, you're going to have lots of suffering because the Spirit is great." We all have to go, okay, wait, like okay, you're going to suffer a lot because the Spirit, like no, he's saying like this is the good thing. Like you get joy, peace, you get peace in your heart, you learn how to be a patient person because of the Spirit, because you're not so attached to like now, like you like the Spirit's going to help you. So what I'm reading here is that this guy on Wikipedia thinks that like the goal of the virtues is to have the best possible soul. And like when I hear that like the goal is to have the best possible soul, like it's like your existence beyond like the physical, like it's like who your personality is, it's like the way you interact with the world. Because like when you hear Ben Franklin, weird example, like you hear Ben Franklin and like he's taking criticism so seriously because he's trying to be virtuous, like he's trying to like be a better person. And like is that about like I'm virtuous, or is it about like I'm good at interacting with the world, like I'm really good at the world? Like I think that's kind of what a virtuous person is. It's someone that's very good at interacting with the world. So here it says it was Socrates who gets Crito to agree that perfection of the soul, virtue, which is arete, is the most important good. So here we see doxai, and that's like one thing I really wanted to talk about here, because like what have we talked about doxa for, like in the Greek language? Glory, like this is for the glory of God, like the views, the beliefs, the theories of God. Like a dox is like without the view. So a demon or a daemon in like Greek would, according to what this says, it's like it can be a synonym for wise, but it's clearly like a minor deity. It'd be like Apollo, like or like Apollo is beyond a minor deity to me, but like maybe not. Like if you're not Isus, you're probably a demon. But like the demon, like it like can bring the forms of the good. Like it can bring the logos into your mind also. Like we've talked about how like God puts angels in charge of like certain areas. Like there's an angel in charge of of Egypt. There's an angel in charge of the Hejaz. There's an angel in charge of like the Israel area of Judah. Like there's an angel in charge of Greece. Like there's an angel in charge of Italy. Like he'll put his people in charge, and those could theoretically be demons, especially if they're a eudaimonia. So Socrates teaches that a demon is like something that's like beyond like current reality. Like it's like something that's like beyond like it's like what connects you to like the divine, like to like us, like to like our reality would be like through the demons, especially eudaimonia. But like clearly, like there can be bad demons. So real quick, like we've talked about how we thought that a raven was who was in the Garden of Eden, and that's the story. In Greek mythology, ravens are associated with Apollo, the god of prophecy. They are said to be a symbol of bad luck and were the god's messengers in the mortal world. So remember, we read the first page of the Iliad, and it's about how Apollo brings the plague to Jerusalem, and that's why, like in the book of John, like they're all like, he's demon possessed, he's sick. It's because they like knew that the gods bring plagues. They experienced it during the Battle of Troy. So Origen talks about like different types of evil things. They're like evil things that are outside of our control, like probably I would say disease, or like you can't control if someone hits you with a car. That's an evil thing. And then there's like there are evil things that are like you're the cause of the evil, like you're not being virtuous, and so like that's why you're not pursuing the greatest good. Which like when we're talking about Aristotle, like there's like the highest good, and like that would be I guess the eudaimonia, which gives you so much happiness, and like the highest good is like the opposite of sin, because like when we're talking about like the goal is to like aim for the highest good in Aristotle, and the word for sin in Greek is like to miss the mark. Like you're not aiming for the highest good, like you're not aiming for like the justice of Izus, because this guy was the king. He doesn't give a shit if you're gay. Like he will let you eat in his field for free on the Sabbath. You're starving, come eat in my freaking field, I don't care. He will, when there's a wedding, suddenly everybody in the entire country has wine. How did everyone get wine? That guy will protect you if you're a minority. Like that guy is a good guy. Everyone's heard him teach on the Torah and the Septuagint. Everyone knows who that guy is. He's a good guy, and they killed him. So there's this third type of good, which like Origen kind of rejects, which is like beauty's good, and like there are things that like but not good. It's just. Like this is like what would be just, like is your beauty is just. And for him, like beauty can be good. It can be that helpful in a situation, but like is beauty like really like the greatest good? Like are we talking about like lesser goods and they're diminishing from like what the real good is? And I think that's like probably what Origen would say about it, is like that is not the same type of good, and that's why he's saying like there are three different types of good. So for these people, like an evil thing could be like being low-born. Like, because back in the day, you're born low-born. Like, you can't read. Like, you are nothing. Like, you could theoretically be a naked. You're probably a naked person. But Isaiah was the best. So like when it's talking about Elias, that's talking about Isaiah. So like right next to my head, there's Isaiah, who went 3 years naked and barefoot, and Jeremiah, who was cast into a miry pit and was constantly derided, so that he prayed he might have a lodging place in the wilderness, and John, who was in the deserts and ate nothing but grasshoppers and wild honey, who had a leather girdle about his loins and was clothed in raiments of camel hair. And I suppose to admit that these men kept the law. So when you're saying like that's what is like just, or or that's what the good is, like that's like you're not understanding that like you can be low born and it's not because of God. I think back then like people looked at situations and went, karma, like that's the gods, like you're naked and you're like blind, karma, you got sin. So here he says that like the promise of bodily health like comes with God, which theoretically could come if like you're hanging out with us. Like clearly Izus and his followers went around healing everyone. It was a big deal, and that's one of the reasons they got so many followers. Paul healed people and stuff like that. But I don't like it nowadays. It is absurd to suppose that the holy man will be a moneylender, opening banks in many nations and town after town, distracted over payments and receipts and following a prohibited business. For the righteous man putteth not out his money to usury, and taketh not rewards against the innocent. That sounds pretty different than our society now, right? So like you're not virtuous if you're like a banker. Right above my head, Socrates claimed to have a daimonion that frequently warned him in the form of a voice against mistakes, but never told him what to do. So it can be the Holy